What is an HVAC sales engineer and what do we do exactly? Before I dive into that, I'm going to dive into how the industry works so you get a bit of a background so you can understand the role a lot better. By the way, my name is Abdullah and I transitioned from engineering into HVAC sales engineering, and I make these videos because it is a very untapped industry and I wish someone made these videos for me when I was in engineering and I wanted to make the switch. Alright, so we're on the iPad right now. So I'm going to start off with the absolute basics of what is a manufacturer. So we have the manufacturer that makes air handling units that blow out air into ducts. Some manufacturers make fans, whatever that is. And some manufacturers make controls. So we have all these manufacturers that manufacture different, pieces of HVAC equipment. And their goal is to sell as much as they can. So goal is money. Now, how does a manufacturer sell their equipment? And the most common way in the commercial HVAC space is that the engineer needs to put, let's say this is called manufacturer A, needs to put manufacturer A on their engineering drawings. So imagine this is the engineering drawing. They need to specify, hey, I want to use this piece of equipment for this project. So use A. Okay? So that's step one. That's the base of how a manufacturer sells their equipment. And when an engineer puts manufacturer A on the drawing, that means that manufacturer A is the basis of design. And if you get into this industry, you're going to hear this word a lot. It's very important. Again, if the engineer specifies or uses a certain manufacturer on the drawings, that means that manufacturer is the basis of design. The project is designed around this manufacturer and the specifications of this manufacturer. Now, when this product is specified on the drawing, the contractor, so the person who's actually going to buy the equipment and install it, has a very high chance of buying the product that's on the drawing. Okay? But there is a problem. So although there's a very high chance for the contractor to buy the product that's on the drawing that the engineer made, there is a small chance that another manufacturer gets the sale instead, and that could be due to various reasons, most commonly due to cost savings. And this percentage is usually around like 20%. So if a product is on a drawing, there is a very high likelihood. So 80% of the time, the contractor will buy the product that's on the drawing. Now, how does an engineer choose what product to put on the drawing? This is where sales engineers come in. This is where building a relationship with the engineer matters a lot, because the manufacturer that has the best relationship with the engineer will most likely be on the drawing. The manufacturer that provides the most service to the engineer is going to be on the drawing, most likely, if they can match the specs. Now, there is another problem, and bear with me, okay? Now, obviously, there aren't just a couple of manufacturers, there are a lot of manufacturers. So let's call these manufacturer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Let's say we have 8 manufacturers over here, and they want to sell their equipment and they want to be bases of design in all of North America. Or, you know what? Let's say all over the world. So this is the world, and then you have some countries here and some countries here. Okay? That looks very bad, but just bear with me. It's very difficult for every single manufacturer to be close with every single engineer in the world. They would need to hire a huge sales team, and they would need to be experts in every single building code all over the world, and it's just not feasible for most manufacturers. Again, like, I'm sure there are, hundreds of thousands of engineering firms across the world, and there's no way that a single manufacturer can reach all of them and build a relationship with them, and get them to specify their equipment all the time. And that's why rep firms exist. So the job of a rep firm, which is where I work, is to represent multiple different manufacturers in a certain territory. So for example, rep firm 1 represents manufacturers 1, 2, and 3. And rep firm 1 operates in this area of the world. Let's say that's Canada. Okay? So manufacturers 1, 2, and 3 sell their equipment to rep firm 1, and the rep firm has really close relationships with all the engineers and contractors in that certain territory. So it makes it very easy for that manufacturer to sell their equipment in a certain territory. Now, obviously, they do have to take less profits and reduce the price for that rep firm, but they're still making a lot more money than if they would do this alone. Now, you might be wondering, do these manufacturers also have sales reps? And the answer is yes. And the reason they would have sales reps is to support and enable rep firms to sell more effectively and more efficiently. So let's say manufacturer 1 has the sales rep over here, and he provides education, he provides training, he helps with selection and quoting of equipment for the rep firm. Now, because rep firms have a lot of manufacturers, it's very hard to know every single detail about every single manufacturer. So they rely on experts from each manufacturer to provide technical details. Now, obviously, over time, you're gonna become an expert in every manufacturer, but a rep firm might change manufacturers. So sales reps at manufacturers are very, very useful and extremely important for the whole process, as they know their product in extreme depth, and they help support rep firms with selling equipment. And so, to get to the question of the video, what does a sales engineer do? Sales engineers that work at manufacturers, they help educate rep firms, and they do that by flying out sometimes and training rep firms in person. They do that by answering questions on email or phone call. They do that by hosting presentations online and webinars to teach engineers, contractors, rep firms about their product. Sales engineers also help with equipment selection, equipment design, and quoting of equipment for the rep firms. Now, some manufacturers also sell directly to the engineers or contractors, and some sell directly and also use a rep firm, and some just do direct, especially the very niche manufacturers. So, just to summarize this part, sales engineers at manufacturers, they educate rep firms, they're a technical resource, they help with equipment selection and quoting, and sometimes when they sell directly, they build relationships with engineers and contractors. Now, what does a sales engineer do at a rep firm? Now, the primary function of a sales engineer at a rep firm is to build relationships with the engineer. So, this position can also be called consulting sales or engineering sales, and the main function is to build relationships with engineers, okay, and be a technical resource to these engineers. So building relationships with engineers, and you do that by going to their office and giving presentations about certain topics that they want to learn about. You take them out for lunch, you take them out to events, to company sponsored events, go golfing with them. You do all this stuff to build a relationship with them, and obviously the most important part is to be a reliable technical resource for them. So if they call you up and they ask you a question, you need to be able to answer very fast and gain that trust with them. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to this guy because he always answers the phone, he knows his stuff, and I can trust him. And once that engineer trusts you with making HVAC selections, he trusts that you will get him the answer he needs in a timely manner, he or she will keep coming to you when they need a selection for their drawings. So when they come to you for selections, they most of the time put that selection that you gave them on their drawings, and that manufacturer will be the basis of design, and you will have a higher chance to win the job. So the second thing that sales engineers can do is they're a technical resource, and not only to the engineers but also internally. So you can be a technical resource for the contractor salespeople. You can be a technical resource for, other offices across the country who have a certain question. So it's very important in this role to learn the manufacturers, learn the building code in your certain location, and be able to answer technical questions. It is a very mixed role where you need to be good at sales, you need to be able to talk, present, and build relationships effectively, but you also need to be very technical and be able to answer questions effectively and be able to learn a lot of different manufacturers, all their features, so you can gain that trust with the engineers. That trust is mainly built on reliability, and reliability when it comes to technical information. So this is the most important part of the job. And you don't need to know everything. I don't know a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know anything. No, I'm kidding. I do know some stuff, but you don't need to know everything in this job, because you can get a hold of the reps at the manufacturer and get answers for your engineers. And you might not be able to answer on the spot, and that's fine. You can just tell them, hey, that's a good question, I'll get back to you, and they will appreciate that. You don't need to give them an answer and that answer is wrong. Take your time. But the more you know on the spot, the more trusted you will be. So as a sales engineer at a rep firm, you have a list of accounts, and that could be anywhere from like 6-7 engineering accounts to all the way to like 20, 30, I don't know. Depends on how much you want to handle and how much you don't want to go home. But this ties into point number one, and your accounts are going to be engineers. So you need to maintain and build relationships with your accounts. And sometimes you're going to be handling an account that's very cold, that hasn't dealt with your rep firm before. And you're going to have to, cold call them, email the principals, and try to get in. And it's going to be hard in the beginning. And that's the point. That's why they hire engineering sales reps, to develop business in a certain territory with engineers specifically. And sometimes you're going to get handed a very warm account that's just used to the old sales rep. So you're going to keep rolling on that. And obviously with this role, you're going to get commissions based on how much you sell. So that's what I love about this job, is that you're not capped. Even though it is a technical role, it is also very heavily business driven and sales driven. So if you're the type of person that likes to be technical but also has a side that wants to be client facing and wants to develop business in a certain territory and wants to get out there and meet people, then HVAC sales engineering might be the role for you. And if you are interested in transitioning into this role, join the Slack community down below and we can chat in there. I'm running a 4-week training program for engineers who want to transition into HVAC sales engineering. So join the Slack below and we'll talk inside. So the third and the bulk of the work as a sales engineer at a rep firm is making selections. And the more requests for making selections you get, the more successful you will be. And that ties into point number one. The more you build relationships with the engineer, the more requests for making equipment selections that you will get. And making selections could be, making a fan selection, and those are very simple. You just need type of fan that the engineer needs, the airflow, so the CFM required and the static pressure required, and you can make that selection on a couple of softwares very fast. And with the more complex selections, you will take a bit more time because there are a lot of other options to select from, and you will need more information from the engineer. So this is the bulk of the work, is making proper selections for the engineer in a timely manner, and that's what you want. That's the goal. getting opportunities to make equipment selections for those manufacturers to be basis of design. That's the whole role.